Welcome back, crafty friends. So today we are going to do what I think used to be called a one-sheet wonder. I have this paper pad. I don't know the name of it. I have had it for years. I think I may have even gotten it from my sister, but it's got cats and dogs and there's some pretty papers in here. I think I've used one similar to this for a Halloween card. But some of the papers are kind of obnoxious, like this one. There's just a lot going on here. But what we're going to do today, I think the more obnoxious, maybe the better, maybe. So I think we're gonna take this one here that says dog. And then I'm going to get my larger paper trimmer out here. And we are going to start, I'm going to turn it over so that I can't see what I'm doing, so that I don't second guess what I'm doing. So I'm going to start by cutting it down to 4. I'm going to hold both of these down so it doesn't move on me. I'm going to cut by 4.5. And then we have a 3.5 inch piece left. So the 4.5, let's start with the 4. So the 4-inch piece, which was the first piece that we cut, I'm going to cut by 5 1/4. And 5 1/4. And then I have this piece left over. So there's those two. And then the 4.5 inch piece, I'm going to cut by 3. And so now we have 4 that are the 4.5 by 3. And then the 5-inch, I'm going to cut to 4 inches. And so now we have 3 4x5s, 4 4.5 by 3s, 2 4x5 1/4s, and then we have a piece that is let's see, about 1.5 by 4 that is left. So these are the pieces that we have to start with. We can then take these pieces and cut at different angles if we don't want to just plop these down on paper. Some brown paper here, I think it's just from Hobby Lobby. Looks like I have a different color there, but you're only going to need 2 sheets, not even a full 2 sheets. So we cut the first 2 at 4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to cut this in half at 5 1/2, and then we're going to cut 4 1/4. And this one should be 4 1/4 as well, because we just cut that sheet in half. So our first 2 will fit on here like that. So our first 2 are done. So then our next one was 4.5 by 3. So we will cut 4 3/4. Actually, I think I'm going to cut down by 3 first. So I'm going to go this way and cut to 3 1/4. Sorry, not 3 1/4, because the original cut is 3. And then I'm going to cut to 4 3/4. I should have done that the other way. And that's the piece that we have 3 of. I should have cut that the other way. I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to cut it by the 3 1/4 here. And then I'm going to do 4 3/4 and another 4 3/4. And so then there's 2 more of these. There's that one, and then we still need for that one. This time we've got the 3.5 by 4, so I'm going to go to 4 1/4. And then I'm going to cut the 3 3/4. So that's number 1. Three and 3/4, and then one more at 3 3/4. And then this one was the 1.5 by 4. I think I can cut this one out of here. So if I do, was it 1.5 or was it 1 1/4? 1.5. So 1 3/4 by 4 1/4. There is that one. And then we have these pieces left. So what I'm going to do is look at this one. This one is a 3 1/4 by 3 3/4. So this one is 3 by 4. So I'm going to take this down to 3 1/2. So now this piece fits on here. And then this piece is 1 inch by 3. I'm going to put this down to 1 1/4. By 3 1/4. So then there is that one. So we have these pieces left over from the 2 pieces of paper that we, and I can't grab that one, that we cut up, and we're going to hold on to these. We're going to use those. So I'm going to leave these the way they are. If I put them on like manila card base, manila colored or lighter brown colored, it kind of matches, so I think it'll look fine. And then these pieces we will use to also help decorate the card. So like maybe here we would take this piece and put it along the bottom and then put the sentiment across the top of it. So don't throw these pieces away. But I'm going to go ahead and first glue all of these to their base. And I think on these 2 larger ones, because I like to be able to see the card base a little bit, I think I'm going to trim them down just a tad so that they're just shy of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So now when I stick it on here, there'll be just a little bit of an edge. Not much, but a little bit. I might need to trim a little bit more off that way. But this will still fit on there. It just has a smaller edge. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. The rest of them will be fine because they're not the full card base anyway. So now I'm going to glue. These you can save or not save. They're pretty small, but you could use them. I'll show you. But I'm going to glue all of these together and then I'll be back. Okay, so I have them all glued down onto the brown paper. This one I trimmed down just a little bit more so that it wasn't quite as big. Same way with this one. It doesn't have as big of a border because I wanted to be able to see the card base around it. Like this is a card base. I wanted to be able to see just a tad bit of the card base around it. That's why I cut that one down. So we are now going to work on actually putting the cards together and doing some sentiments and some images on them. So I have this cream colored cardstock from, I think it was from Joann's, I think it was the Park Lane. And I'm going to use, this is the card base. I'm going to do them all like this. So I'm going to cut them at the 5.5, so there'll be 5.5 by 4.25. So I'll be scoring at the 4.25 inch on the 8.5 inch side. And then I have this set that came out of Cardmaking and Papercraft. Also got this at Joann's when they were opened. It came with this little embossing folder, and then it's got some puppy dogs on there. If I do more that have cats on them, I may come back and do the kitty cats. And then I also have this set called Precious Pups from Gina K. So I'm going to use it as well. So we're going to start with getting the paper cut down to in half so that I can do it for my cards. So we need to figure out how many cards we can make here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for sure. So we'll have 10. We'll see what we do with the small ones, whether or not they'll go on their own card. So if I have 10 that I can make, I need 5 sheets of paper. I'm going to put my longer one in here. So I'm going to take 5 of these, not all at one time. Since these are 110 pounds, you can kind of hear the difference in it. And I'm going to cut it down to 5.5. All of the card bases are made, so now we're going to work on putting our fronts on the cards that we've made. So I'm going to start with the 2 biggest ones because I know that they're just going to go straight on the front. So I'm going to grab my glue press and stick the front of my glue press here on the front. Just be careful when you're sticking it down. That pin needs to go in between or in the center of that little spot there, or you will bend it. So it just kind of clips on there like that. That way you don't lose your top for your glue. You can also tape these down with double-sided tape or an ATG gun. And then, like I said, this one's just got a tiny bit of an overhang. I use the liquid glue because it allows me to maneuver the cards a little bit or the paper a little bit. If I used tape, then once I set it down, it's down. And unless you use removable tape, when you try to pull it up, it will pull the paper and rip the paper, or could potentially pull the paper and rip the paper, which is not something I want to do. So that's why I prefer using my glue. But you do you. Some people cannot stand the feel of the glue. They don't like it when it touches their fingers. So these, the words do go every direction, but there is sort of a direction that kind of need to follow. Either your card is going to open like this, or your card can open like this because you have some that are going that way. So you wouldn't want to turn it around the other way and have all of these upside down where your card was opening this way. So in this case, be mindful of that. If you have some that has no direction at all, then don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter how you put it on there. And I'm going to kind of, I think, turn this one at an angle a little bit. And then this one, all of them are going this way except for right on the side here. And that one, you know, you could turn it this way, but then most of your card is going to be going the wrong way. So I can either stick it down so that it goes completely side to side, or I can shift how I'm doing the card and have the card open to the top instead of to the side. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to center it, but leave the extra over to the right, not center it completely. I'm just going to kind of try and have about the same edge on the top and the bottom. And then this one, which is the same as this one, it's different because of the way everything is going on there. So this one I will do so that it opens to the left, just like the other ones I've done. Although you don't have to pay attention to when you're cutting You do have to pay attention when you're putting it down because you may need to adjust your card base a little bit, or your card a little bit. Got a little too much glue off to the side there. This time I did so it has about the same amount on the top and on the side, on the left side, and then the right side has a little bit more and the bottom has more. All right, here's another one. This one I think I'm going to put down towards the bottom. And then we've got 2 more here, or 3 more, sorry. Just throw that one all around. I'm going to center this one as best I can in the center. There's that one. And then this is another one of them that if I put it down on here like this, it's going to look like it's upside down or backwards. So I'm going to want to turn it this way and have this card open like this. Personal preference, you don't have to. You could have had it open the same way. You're going to probably put a sentiment or something over the top of it so they're not really going to notice it. I'm going to go ahead and put these down. Okay, so these 4 cards are ones that I feel like they need something else to go along with them. So this one is going to go this way. The rest of them are going opening to the left like a book. So on this one, I could take and put just a brown piece down like this, or I could take some of these smaller ones that we cut and put them down just to give it a little bit more something to the card. I want to say texture, but it's not really texture. So I could do all 3 of those right like that. I would just cut them off. Then this one, I could do that all the way down the center, again, just to give a little bit more to the card. And then this one, I think this one's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to use what I have left on this piece to put on here. And then this one, let's see. I think I want to put this one on here, but I need to cut it down a little bit. So I'm going to grab my smaller paper trimmer here. Okay, so this first one I know I want to go from top to bottom, and I know that this is a 5.5 inch card. So I'm going to go 5.5, and I may have to trim it off a little bit if I don't have a perfectly cut card. So I'm going to 5.5, and that one is going to go right there. And then this one can go on that card over there. Let's just go ahead and do all 3 of these to the same length or the same height as the card. So I'm going to try and stack them up here. And then since this card is going this way, I know that's 5 1/4, so I want to cut these to 5 1/4. So I'm going to raise that up so I can get all 3 of them under there. And I'm going to push it back to 5 1/4 and hope that they are all, and if not, again, I can trim it off once I get it on there. So there are those 3 for that one. This one I wanted up here, but I wanted to cut it down a little bit. So I'm going to cut this one down to, let's see, if we do that at 3, let's just cut it down to 3 3/4, or just shy of 3 3/4. So there is that one that I'm going to stick up there, and then I'll probably put a white piece or a cream or manila piece on top of that. And then I have these pieces and this piece that I can use, and I'll probably use them to make like flags and things like that on there, so I don't want to throw those away. I don't know that I need these little pieces here, but okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get started on these guys. I think I'm going to use the tweezers on these because they're so small, and I'm just going to kind of grab them in the center-ish. I just don't want to be at either end because I want to make sure that the ends get glued down. So now I'm going to start at the top and then try to get it the same space all the way down, and you can see, you may not be able to see, but I'll show you here. I need to trim just a little bit off down here. You can kind of see a little bit of an overhang. So did I show you that? Yeah, a little bit of an overhang. So, and I'm going to do another one here. And this time I'm going to go over to the edge this way. And again, you could have used tape if you wanted to. I just know I'm not very good at putting things down perfectly straight the first time, so the glue does help me. You can put tape on there and then put some glue on the top of the tape if you're in an environment or a weather area that maybe the tape holds better than the glue, vice versa. I think I'm going to put this one a little bit closer to this one. So there's that. Now I'm just going to grab my scissors. I've got these little cutter bees, and I'm just going to trim those two little pieces off. So now there is that card. Get those off my scissors. Now I'm going to work on this one. I have no nails. I have broken my nails off, so things are hard for me to pick up. I have very flimsy nails, sometimes feels like. Move that over just a little bit so that it's kind of in between the two of those. And I'm going to move it down just a little bit since it's cut just a little bit off. This one I did get a little bit of the glue on there. If it doesn't dry, I'll come back with my little eraser and try and get that off there. But that one is done now. Okay, so now we're going to work on this one. Just going to glue it down. And if this doesn't work for you the way I'm doing this card, these cards where I'm just kind of winging it, then plan it out better. But to me this works. I can, get everything down and then come back and do the sentiment on there if I want. And then this guy I'm going to line up over here. This gives me a great place to put some embellishments if I want to. Line it up over here, still trying to keep about the same amount from this and the base, or the bottom of it, not the base, sorry. Same thing, I guess. So there is that one, and then these two are pieces that I probably won't use, so I'm going to move those off to the side. And now we have these guys. So this is one that's going to be turned this way. These two will go that way. And then the rest of these all go this way. I could actually, if we don't want to have any leftovers, put that small strip down here. I don't think this one will because it looks like it gets smaller as it goes on, so we won't use that one. But I could trim off another little piece if I wanted to stick down here. But we'll do that one last. So let's see, I think maybe we will maybe flag this one. So I'm just going to cut up the center and then do my best to flag it the same on either side. And then that can go on that card, or it can go on one of these cards, or it can go on one of these. And again, it gives me a place to do some embellishing on there. I can also take that one, and although this one is, it's a little bit bigger than my piece here, I could put this in here and run it through. I'm going to grab some tape here. Tape it down on the side so that it doesn't move just because it is so small. And move it down here so that we can get it right on that first one. And then I'm just going to tape it to the side and then fold it over because I don't really want it on the, I don't want the paw prints to be impacted by it. So now I'm going, so I ran it through the Sizzix and it came out pretty cute. It wasn't completely straight on there, but I think it'll be okay. I think it looks cute, and I could come back over this with some distress ink and distress that if I wanted to, but I think that looks cute like that. I'm going to set this aside because I may use it again. I'm also going to set my piece of tape aside here. And then let's see. If we just do that on there, that gives it a little bit of interest. Again, we're just trying to use up all of the paper. We don't want scraps. Okay, so I'm going to use this one that I did put a little bit of the distressed ink vintage photo on this card here, I think. I think I've decided I'm gonna put it on here someplace. So since it ran through the embossing machine, it does get a little more fragile. So you need to be mindful of that and be sure you're putting glue in enough places. Like I need to be sure that I have glue down here because they could break away from the little paw prints because they ran through the embossing machine. Some people use water, spritz it a little bit with water first, and then that, they say that makes it so it doesn't get as fragile or want to break away from pieces. I haven't done the water, so we're gonna just say the glue works. So there's those two pieces, and then let's see, do we want to add, let's just trim off a piece here, and we're going to do a bigger flag. And before I tape or glue that one down, I think what I will do is use some of the items on here, like maybe the dog bone or the tiny paw print that's on here on the Precious Pups to put on there, or maybe there's a word that says dog, or there's a dog bone on here that we could put on there just to decorate it up a little bit. So I'm not going to glue that one on there just yet. I think I'm going to do this one. So that one is, let's see, what is that one? That one is 5 1/4. So I think I'm going to do a piece at 5 1/4. So that one would go all the way down here. And then this one is about 4 1/2. So let's cut maybe 2 1/4. Not quite the exact same because it wasn't right at 4 1/2, but now we have these two that we can make as a flag, or we can have them kind of, you know, come off where we could have the sentiment on there. And then the same way up here, I can kind of have it And I could also do a bigger flag if I wanted to. Like if I wanted to do the flag so it was this way and it was just a really big flag, we can try that. I don't know that I'm going to do very well with that, but we can try that. Let's go up the center and then go over. And this time I think I'm going to flip it over here. Doesn't look too terribly bad. It doesn't look too bad. And then this one, I think I will just, not flag, but I'll just cut down like that and have that off to the side like that. So it just is something a little bit different. So these are, and that one little piece that I had, I don't know what I did with it, are the scraps that we have left. So not too terribly bad for scraps. I don't think any of us would say we need to save these. So we're not adding to our scrap. Okay, so I went ahead and did all of the stamping using those two stamp sets, the Precious Pups and the stamp set from the Cardmaking and Papercrafting magazine. I don't know what issue this was from. If I can find it, I will put it in the description down below. But these are all the cards that I came up with. So I'm just going to kind of lay them out here. I have not done on the inside. I have not gone back and put anything on all of them on the inside, but there are the first two. This one I just used the Stay Positive, and I used a scallop circle punch to punch that out. And then I've used the dog bone to go across the brown up here. And my fingers are filthy from all the stamping and the wiping off, but this one I stamped the dog right on the center, and then I put Dogs Make Everything Better right on the card base. This one I did the Love is a four-legged word, and then I used the little paw print to stamp in a brown up here. This is stamped in black down here. This one I used that same dog and did Congratulations on Your New Fur Baby. This I did have to cut another brown piece of paper to be able to do this one because I didn't have any left over from all of them that we did. This one I used the paw print and the bone and stamped up the brown, and then I used the Woof 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 Dogs Make Everything Better from the Precious Pups from Gina K. This one is Sit, Stay, Get Better. I didn't do anything else to this one at all, but just use the Sit, Stay, Get Better stamp from the Gina K one. This one is the one that we did, I think, in the beginning together with the Love is a Four-Legged Word. This one is Woof, You Did It, and then I used the line of paw prints from the Gina K stamp set down here at the bottom. Most of the time I've been using the single one, but I use this one down here at the bottom to just stamp one time kind of up at an angle on that one. And then I use that same stamp set again to go down the center. This one says Dogs Leave Paw Prints on Our Hearts, and then I used the heart that is in the Gina K right here to put on this one. And then the last one I used the bone from the magazine to stamp onto the flag, and then I did the Woof, You Did It, and then I stamped another dog down here right over the corner so that it kind of gave it a little bit more. I did have to use a marker to fill in spots, and those are the 10 cards, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, yeah, 10 cards. So that will make a nice collection for someone if I put them all in a little gift box with envelopes. Someone that really likes dogs, or maybe giving them to the animal shelter for them to be able to give out to volunteers or donors, that kind of thing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.